there, this is Hike from Logic Inbound, and you're looking at a quick summary video of our article about what to do if you can't afford SEO and affordable SEO ideas. This article is originally published on logicinbound.com, so if you want to read the full guide, definitely check it out. Just go to logicinbound.com/blog and click on that, or you can look in the video description and get it that way too. But I'll be giving you a quick kind of 5-minute summary in case you don't have time to read the article. So first of all, what's the overview here? What's the issue? What should you do if you can't afford to hire an SEO agency? Agencies could be expensive. Some of them start from $2,000 to $3,000 a month, with hundreds of thousands of dollars at the top end. Really depends on who the client is and what value you're providing. So just remember that hiring an agency doesn't actually guarantee success. It's a way to delegate responsibility and to be more scalable, but it doesn't guarantee anything. We're going to talk about how much you should be paying agencies. We're going to talk about when it's better to train someone in-house, because at a certain point, you're not really saving money by using an agency. We're going to talk about what you should do on your own if you just can't afford anything. And then we'll look at the specific SEO checklist at the end for kind of the basics to take care of if you're doing it on your own. So first of all, hiring an agency doesn't guarantee success. For example, at Logic Inbound, we usually charge a minimum of $3,000 a month, but there's no guarantees associated with that. For small businesses, that can be a huge risk. And if you can't afford $3,000 a month, I suggest learning and implementing SEO until you can. In fact, a lot of times we have to turn away clients, even if they want to work with us, because it would be too risky for their business, right? If their whole business only generates $2,000 a month and they're spending $3,000 a month with us, that means they're going to be losing $1,000 every month in the hopes of succeeding sometime in the future, which is not a really good situation to be for a marketing agency. You can't let the success or failure of your business lie with a third party. It has to be something that you mostly drive on your own. Next, how much should you really be paying agencies? I mentioned our price point. Well, most businesses, based on SBA statistics, they'll spend anywhere from 5 to 10% of their annual revenue on marketing in general. So for example, a company that is doing $100,000 in revenue, this could be like a small business consultant, for example, they might spend $5,000 to $10,000 a year on marketing. On the other hand, a company that's generating $1 million in revenue a year should probably be spending $50,000 to $100,000 a year on marketing, which is about $4,000 to $8,000 a month. So you can see how, based on what sort of stage of your company you're at, you can kind of gauge what would be reasonable to pay for marketing based on the market. Most good agencies charge more than $1,500 a month to do good work. That's just a simple fact of economics. An agency is usually multiple people working together. Your monthly fee has to pay for the cost of keeping the business and running, the cost of all the different salaries of people on staff. It has to generate a profit for the leadership. If you really want to pay less, then you've got to start looking at freelancers who can still do good work while putting food on the table, right? $1,000 to an agency does not go as far as $1,000 to an individual person, but you're taking on different risks by doing that. Lastly, spending more than 10% of your revenue on an agency is very risky for your overall business, right? If you're a typical business, your profit margin might be somewhere from 20 to 30%. For example, if you're spending 10% of your revenue, well, there's more than half or potentially half of your profit margin. So spending any more than that is very risky, but keep in mind that most businesses spend 5 to 10 to grow their business. The next option that most people look at is training an SEO person in-house. So it's way more common at larger companies, Fortune 500s. Even though some of them still use outside consultants, they tend to hire people in-house to staff that department. So an example would be, but when should you not do this? When a core function of your business relies on SEO, you shouldn't hire an agency or a freelancer. You should build someone in-house. So for an example, an accounting company that outsources its bookkeeping or accounting services, would be outsourcing their core competency. So that's not a great thing to do. On the other hand, for example, a doctor who's focused on providing quality treatment, it does make sense to outsource SEO because it's not their core competency. Understanding Google's algorithm doesn't help them provide better outcomes for their customers. Some agencies like Logic Inbound, for example, offer training programs or courses to help train in-house SEOs. Nowadays, there's a lot of good training online, especially free training and even some good paid training that you can use to get someone up to speed. But at the same time, having an individual person you can go to is always helpful too. So just to recap, when the core function of your business relies on SEO, you should definitely have someone in-house. When it doesn't, it makes sense not to. Some agencies offer training. Examples, if you think about Fortune 500 brands, maybe an e-commerce company, probably should have someone in-house on SEO if that's going to be a big part of their traffic. But like I said, depends on the type of business and where their core focus is. A news publisher, for example, should definitely have in-house SEO people because they drive a lot of traffic from Google. It's just the nature of the business. So what if you can't afford to hire someone, you can't afford to hire an agency? What should you do? Well, you could follow the SEO checklist on the next couple of slides and do it yourself. Again, it's going to be linked in the description below. You could do this yourself until you can hire an agency later. Simple kind of rule of thumb to make sure you don't shoot yourself in the foot. Make sure you don't buy backlinks. Sure, you might have a friend, that bought backlinks and they got away with it, but just because they did doesn't mean you will. It's analogous to shoplifting. Just because some people get away with it doesn't mean that you're going to get away with it. So you shouldn't risk the foundation of your business on something that could be pretty risky. Instead, just do the basics. You can get pretty far on the basics, and you don't need to bother with the complicated stuff that could get you in trouble. So what are the basics? Part one is the content on your website. So you need to understand what keywords people are searching in order to find you. A good example, think about is, are you using jargon to describe your product, right? The words that your salespeople use to talk to your customers are not necessarily the same words that somebody who doesn't understand your business will use to talk about your business. So for example, if we're talking about SEO, somebody who's uneducated might just search things like online marketing, right? So you got to think about what people are searching, or more specifically, someone who wants to hire an SEO company, unless they're very savvy, they're not going to search for things like link building experts, right? They're just looking for SEO, so more general. You want to create high quality content. So what does that mean in reality? High quality content, people use that word all the time. It's pretty vague, but really there's a couple of keys here. You need to answer questions, which means you need to figure out what the questions are that people are asking. You can do that by searching the keyword. Google has a people also ask section. You need to save users time, which means that you need to give them a direct answer that actually solves their problem. And you need to be genuinely helpful, right? I've seen too many articles that, hit on a keyword in the heading and then they don't actually answer the question, or they don't give you a clear answer, or they make you figure it out on your own. Just tell people what they want to know and they're going to appreciate your content. And then lastly is tag optimization. These are just the basics to make sure that Google understands what the heck your content is about. Because even if your content is really amazing to your friend who you share the link with and they read it and they say it's great, if Google can't understand it, then it's not going to succeed online. So the very basics are meta titles, descriptions, H1 tags, H2 tags. Make sure these align with your keyword. You can use a tool like Page Optimizer Pro if you want to get more savvy to figure out what keywords should go in each of those places, but that's the basics. And then you want to use structured data like lists, tables, and schema. So when you look up the keyword that you want to rank for, if you see a big box at the top, it's called a featured snippet that has a list of information or has a paragraph from a third-party website, then you need to model yourself after that too, and also have a list of data or a paragraph or a table, depending on what it is. Next is link building. You can think about this like digital PR, right? You want other websites to vouch for you by linking to you. So social media is a very simple way to do that, to get the basics. Again, this is not an expert's guide, it's a basic guide. Another way to do that is by contributing to other websites as an author. So for example, even though Forbes might be kind of hard to get into, there's other blogs online that are actively looking for contributors. If you go to Google and search for, in quotes, search for "write for us," and then put some keywords after that. Let's say you're trying to write for the healthcare niche. You might search "write for us healthcare" or "write for us medicine," and then you'll find websites that are actively looking for writers. Next, you want to copy your competitors' backlinks. So again, this is a little more advanced. You can use a tool like Ahrefs, Moz, Majestic, there's tons of them out there, to look at your competitors' websites and figure out how many links they have, what types of links they have. You can look at the individual ones and sign up for them for yourself. So for example, if you're looking at a home improvement company, construction company, you might notice, oh, they have a link from Home Advisor. Oh, they have a link from Angie's List, right? It'll give you lots of ideas for where you can get your links to. And lastly, once you're kind of getting up to scale, you need to start measuring your link cost, right? How many hours does it take you to reach out to someone and secure a link and actually write the article for them? Your time is worth something too, and you need to track that. Also measure your effectiveness, right? If you've invested 10 hours into something to get a link and you haven't gotten a link, it's probably not very effective. Next is technical SEO. This is the last piece. A lot of people emphasize this, but really this is the barrier to entry, right? If you don't have the technical SEO, you're just not going to rank at all. But if you have the best technical SEO in the world, that won't put you on top of page one. That it's just the cost of doing business to begin with. So you've got to fix 404 errors and redirects. If somebody clicks a link to your site and it doesn't work, right? It's the same thing as Google. If they click a link to your site and they see it's not working, that's going to ding you. Site speed, be at least as fast as your direct competitors in the search results. You can use tools like gtmetrics.com to plug in your site and then plug in all your competitor sites, right? You don't need a perfect score on any of these speed tests. You just have to be as good or better than your competitors. And lastly is site structure, making sure that your site is structured well and easily usable by your audience, right? If you're starting from scratch, if you're building a new business or a new website, just having a few sites or a few pages makes the site structure really simple, right? The problem happens when you have, let's say, e-commerce company with thousands of pages or a blog with, years of content, right? That gets really kind of icky and you have to restructure that. It might be worth hiring a freelancer just for a small project there. Okay, guys, so if you have any questions, you can reach out to vlad@logicinbound.com. He's the expert on this stuff. And coming soon, we're going to be doing in-depth SEO guides for each step of the SEO checklist. If you're checking out this video, after it's been released a couple weeks or a couple months, this checklist and these guides are probably already ready. So just go to this website, logicinbound.com/blog, and you can get them there. Okay, thank you. This has been kind of a summary and a recap of the article. Feel free to go through and actually read it if you're interested, but this should get you the main ideas. And always you can use it as reference. All right, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.